Yes, Sean Austino is here. Thanks for introducing me, Teepee. Um, we are in the final day of the Scorpia Crossfire Armajet tournament, and we are going to be interviewing someone very special today. It's going to be Hammers May. Thanks for being here, May. Are you with us?
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me onto the Scorpia tournament. I'm glad to be here.
May, you're a very prominent member of the Armajet community. I've been seeing you up there in the top 100. We're always like, but we battle it out here and there. We've had some fun playing with each other, playing against each other. So tell us, everybody listening, who are you and what do you do in the Armajet community?
Yes. So I'm May, as you know, and then I'm besides the Armajet community, I'm also media director for Hammers Esports, and I do exclusive manager for IFL Critical Ops. But within the Armajet community, I am a content creator slash streamer and also a moderator. Big King L and I also hosted the first Armajet get together in New York City. But overall, the main thing that I try to do is I do my best to help and interact with the community as much as I can.
Wow, so you're super busy. It sounds like you're involved with critical ops. You've got the Armajet stuff going on. You have you've done events in New York with Big King L, which I wish I could have gone to. That would have been so fun. You guys need to do one here on the West Coast for sure. Or maybe when I scrape together more budget for my channel, I can fly to you guys when you do
That
one
would
of
be
those things
awesome.
again.
Yeah, I hope
So
to do it again.
yeah, that'll be. How was that? How was the New York get together for Armajet?
It was so awesome. I think one of the best things that can literally happen to someone is when you make friends online and then you eventually get to meet them in person. It's just a great feeling. I mean, I met a lot of great people, of course, Big King L, Kima, Killer Penguins, and also Omelette Arcade came out full. There was just a lot of it was a good time, and honestly, it was unforgettable.
Is Killer Penguins as hyped in person as he is online?
Yes, yes, very. Literally, he's an awesome person. It was so much fun, and we did a little bit of casting too, side by side, along with Full. He's really great at that.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I heard your last video actually that you made regarding the tremor gun in the game, and you featured Big King L there. And it's cool to hear the perspective of one of those top players in the game and how they utilize the tremor, how it's utilized in different maps, and you gave a really good breakdown about how the damage output is, how many seconds it takes to reload and all that stuff. So really good job on making those videos for us.
Thank you so much. I always try to make sure that the information that I put on that video is as accurate as possible because I want to make sure that new players coming into Armajet can use these weapon class videos when they start on Armajet, and hopefully they can learn more about each weapon.
So how did you get involved with Armajet and Super Bit Machine?
This is kind of a funny story. I got involved with Armajet by a coincidence. So Hammers Esports picked up IFL in Critical Ops because I started in Critical Ops in the beginning. And then one day Kima happened to introduce me to Armajet, which I unexpectedly fell in love with because the reason why it's unexpected for me is because I kind of have a history of liking FPS games instead. The Armature community was a lot smaller back then, but it was very welcoming and positive, and it's still that way today.
Okay, well that's great. So how long have you been with Hammers overall then? It's been a couple of years then it sounds like.
No, I haven't been with Hammers for years yet. I haven't
Oh,
reached that
okay.
point yet.
Oh, all
But
right. The
uh,
esports scene, everything just moves so fast. Like it's like
yes,
light speed. It feels like.
yes, I agree with that. But I've known Hammers since May 2018, since they got IFL. But I officially started getting involved with them during the summer. So I think if I can estimate it right, I've been with Hammers around 6 months now, but it feels longer than that.
Okay, all right. So yeah, it's not quite a long amount of time, but you've been really active in the community. So we always see you out there on social media, posting your videos on YouTube and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the Hammers roster preparation like for the Scorpia Crossfire Armajet tourney? Were you involved with them in any way?
I was involved somewhat, but not as much as Elsif and the other directors were. There was a lot of preparation for the Hammers roster. As you know, Elsif is a team manager, and he and the other directors carefully assessed each player based on their skill, behavior, teamwork, and communication. There was literally 150 competitive matchups and 40 gigabytes of gameplay footage. And this was all followed by documents that contained feedback. The entire Hammer 6 recruitment challenge was highly extensive, but it's definitely a great way of preparing a roster.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's a lot of information for the
Yeah.
players to digest. 40 gigabytes, geez. But they need that because there's so much gameplay. There's so many teams out there. There were
Yes.
just eight teams alone within this tournament, and it's like, did they? Do you know if they scrimmed against each other? Did they do anything like that or practice matches? Did they just watch everybody spec people online and see how they played?
So I know for sure that within the recruitment challenge, they had to scrim against each other, and then each gameplay would be saved, and then also if any other directors would go back and then review the footage itself, and then that's where they would provide feedback within those documents that they had.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like they did something right because they dropped into, even though they got one win the first day, they dropped into the losers bracket,
Hmm.
and and that's been the story of Hammers this
Hmm.
whole weekend so far. It's like they got knocked down day one, yet they've made a comeback and they've dominated in day two, shutting down all other lower bracket teams. So, how do you think they recovered so well?
I think they recovered so well. I think it's most likely due to the fact that they took the lessons they learned from day one and then applied it to day two. I think a minor mistake that they made in day one was probably not sticking together as a team that like they usually do. And also, it was a best of three match where there's probably more server advantage that plays a bigger role than a best of five. But overall, Hammers was still able to reassess themselves in how they played in day one, and then adapt quickly to the strategies that they had in day two.
Okay. So you mentioned Elsif. Is he you said he's coaching the team?
Oh no, he's not. He's just a team manager.
Okay, so he's a team manager. Who's coaching the
Mhm.
team right now? Is it Kima?
Well, I'm not allowed to say who's coaching the team
Oh,
because
okay.
the
Yeah.
official Hammer 6 roster announcement hasn't released yet, but it is coming soon. So I'm definitely
Oh,
looking forward to that myself.
all
And
right. I
everyone
like
should definitely keep an eye on that.
the secrecy here. Thanks
Yes.
for thanks for keeping us up to date on that. Yeah, and we look forward to seeing that on those announcements on social media. Uh, do you feel like Kima, who's like the CEO and founder of Hammers, the
Mhm.
esports team, do you feel like him being the head of community for Armajet has allowed any kind of advantage for the Hammers team in Armajet Pro Play?
Mhm. I see why that would be a question that would be asked, but honestly, I don't believe that Kima being the head of community for Armajet has given an advantage to Hammers in the pro scene. Because he cannot play for them nor, show favoritism for any of the teams, considering that he's in Super Bit Machine, and he doesn't take any part of the strategic team meetings nor make team calls. I mean, Elsif is the team manager, so Elsif handles all of those things, and so yeah, overall, Kima doesn't take part in making decisions nor advising for Hammer 6. And it's also important to point out that there's a long, passionate history between Armajet and Hammers itself. They've been here since not only early access and beta, but meta as well.
Oh wow, that's great. Yeah, so they have a lot of experience playing Armajet, and that just proves why they're so good. But they're not
Hmm.
perfect. Armajet Hammers team did go down the first day, like we've been talking about. They went into the
Hmm.
losers bracket, whereas other
Yes.
teams like Tribe and Libots, they have proceeded into the winners bracket so far, and they got the bye yesterday. So it's good to see that even though they've had a lot of practice and experience, other teams can still just practice in turn and be able to succeed as well.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's great. So now Hammers is guaranteed to get at least third place in this tournament so far. So, what's your prediction about the finals? What do you think is going to happen today?
So I don't personally like being biased myself, but I definitely still believe that Hammers Esports can make it to the grand finals and has what it takes to win. As I've mentioned before, they've been in Armajet since Meta, and that's a great advantage to have because they just have so much knowledge in Armajet, and they're able to adapt easily to the new features and everything coming onto Armajet. And on top of that, this whole time they've been able to build so much synergy with each other. Um, when it comes to Laybots, I think they can have what it takes as well to maybe, I guess, get second place, and I feel Tribe would be third. But again,
Ooh.
these are just my predictions because we'll just see what happens.
That's crazy that you're just putting it out there like that. That Hammers is going to be the one dominant, and of course, it's your team. It's your team.
Yes,
I
yes,
totally get and understand that. But yeah, it's just it would be the ultimate Cinderella story. That having Hammers go into the losers bracket and then come back up and just pull themselves up from the underworld and
yes.
win this tournament here for the Scorpia Armageddon Crossfire tournament. It would be nuts. It would be bonkers. I think it's very possible. They demonstrated that they can go to game threes, and in this case, today it's going to be game fives. So having that endurance is something that's really important for teams like Hammers. Who are you more scared of? So it sounds like you're more scared of the bots than you are of
Hmm.
Tribe. Well,
Hmm.
so why do you think you're more scared of Labots for Hammers to go up
Um,
against?
I think that I'm more nervous about Labots because, considering the fact that Hammers lost to them in day one. However, at Tribe, it can be seen that a lot of players have been making it to the top 10 players. So there's that to take into consideration too. Me personally, I haven't scrimmed against Tribe or Labots since I don't play competitively. So my predictions and also my perspective, on each of the teams. This is just based on like what I know and what I've seen. So hopefully none of the people watching the tournament right now or this interview takes it too personal.
Yeah, it's all your personal opinion.
Yeah.
What can we do as esport personalities and people who are here? We're not the pro players, right? We don't really know how the scrims are going or how the viewing of all the information is going prior to the tournaments. So,
Yes.
in order for Armajet to succeed as an esport, what do you think needs to happen?
I definitely feel that we can't. We need to make sure that we don't force Armajet to like succeed as an esport. Like just let it happen naturally. And we need to make sure that they continue to listen to multiple community tournament organizers because they'll be providing a lot of feedback, and also continue to see feedback from the players themselves, like what game modes they would have and what features they would like, because the devs have been doing such a great job listening to the players and what they would like to see, what they need to see, and the problems that they've been experiencing in the game itself. And they've also been doing a great job with fixing the issues that the players are experiencing in the game. And all the partnerships have been great, especially Razer. They've been a great supporter.
Oh, well, that's great. It sounds like there's a lot going for Armajet as not as an esport, but as a game, and letting it develop naturally. That is really important, I feel, because if you just try to rush doing an esport and dump too much money into it, we've seen so many games that have been failing. Like we just saw H1Z1. There was an article that just came out about them. They were like overextending into esports, and now people are
Hmm.
not getting paid the stipends they were supposed to, and that esport is closing down. Uh, we've also seen games like Vainglory, like just dumping tons of money in their first couple of years into esports, and now there's nothing there.
Yes.
And then what are some of the bottlenecks that you see in Armajet? Like you discussed what needs to happen
Hmm.
for the dev side. What are
Hmm.
some other bottlenecks you see, maybe with the dev side, and even just with esports in general? What are some like roadblocks or like speed bumps that you see?
Well, of course, as this game grows more popular, I definitely think the community overall needs to stay positive, like they have been, and encouraging newcomers and helping them out whenever they need help. And I also feel like, from a new player's perspective, the Armajet itself looks pretty easy to play, but then when they start playing it and experiencing the pace of the game a little bit, they aren't used to the play style of the game, especially for mobile players. They can't, they're not that used to the twitchy input with an Armajet, and they're more so used to like match 3 games or like timed abilities. But Armajet is both timed and live in terms of positioning as well. So there's a difficulty level within Armajet, but people tend to expect it to be easy to play, which is why sometimes we can see frustrations coming from new players with an Armajet. But overall, there's no way that Armajet can be simple, even though it looks that way.
It's interesting that you bring up the whole frustration with playing with the controls. Like, it seems like a simplistic game, but I've actually had conversations with Kima, and we've talked about button parity, controller parity, and how for me, it seems like it's easier to play on one of two devices. It's easiest to play on PC for me, but then playing on
Hmm.
iPhone is actually good too, which is funny because they're like the complete opposite. But then playing the iPad, which is kind of in between, is more difficult for me. So it's like, oh, like how is this going to happen? Like, and there are people who I'm sure a lot of the players in the tournament right now
Yes.
are playing on their phones, and playing on your phone is actually a really good way to, if the pros are doing it, then that's a really good way to succeed and get into the top 100 and to be a professional in the Armajet community.
It really is, and I feel like if you're a competitive player in Armajet, I highly suggest being equally skilled in each device that you're able to play with. Like, if you're good at PC, why not practice and be as good on the phone? Like, I think that that's like an important suggestion for all competitive players out there. And I haven't personally tried playing Armajet on an iPad yet, only PC and the phone.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's same with me. And those are the ways to go, I feel, Um, is esports your full-time thing right now?
Oh, I wish I could say yes, but as of right now, it's not my full time. Considering I'm a full-time student, full-time college student, and I also work part-time. But since I'm so passionate about Armajet and esports, I still make time whenever I have it to be as involved as I am within the Armajet community, and also making content and streaming.
Oh yeah, I totally know how that is. You have your plate really full. You're juggling a lot of responsibilities, especially
Hmm.
being a student. Oh my gosh, being a student is a job in itself. Going to
Yes.
college, going to university, whatever you're doing, it's just like it's crazy to be able to do that, and then juggle all this esports stuff that you're doing right now with
Yes.
crit ops, with Armajet. It makes it so that you're going to be a lot more successful later on. So good for you, May. That's freaking awesome to hear. Uh,
Thank you.
what what kind of a future do you see for yourself in esports?
Uh, the funny thing is, when I came in Critical Ops and then when I came into Armajet, I think the number one goal I had before in the beginning was to be a competitive player. But ever since I started making my way to making content, videos, and streaming, I just naturally kind of fell in love with that more, and I want to take, you know, that route instead of being a competitive player because I feel like I'm much more better at creating content than being a possible competitive player. So hopefully in the future, for myself in esports, I continue to do what I do now, and hopefully build a community for myself as well.
That's the dream, isn't it? To be able to just do what you're good at, and then you just like, oh man, like people want me to keep doing this more. I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna make money off of it. This is my full-time career. That's a beautiful thing, right?
That's the golden dream. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What's next for Hammers after this tourney?
Most likely, Hammers, they're gonna rebuild their casual division because they just recently closed their casual application, and then they're gonna be preparing the next generation of players for the big stage. And definitely they're going to be practicing more and scrimming, and also making more strategies.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's what needs to happen. It's more of the casual user base out there that is actually more involved as opposed to those watching or playing esports. That's always like what, like 1% or 10%. It's such a small number. It's got to be
Hmm.
closer to 1% of the people that are actually playing that that watch esports as well.
Hmm.
So there's you guys here in chat that are watching the Scorpia Crossfire Armajet tourney. There's a lot more people out there playing. You just gotta hop on Armajet and keep playing to find them. Find that community. Are there any last words you'd like to leave the chat with, May?
Yes, I just want to thank, of course, Scorpio Tournament for having me here as a special guest, and also for you interviewing me. I just feel very lucky to be here, and also I just want to thank everyone that's coming out, watching the tournament, and also supporting, each team. And also, it's okay to, if you support one team more than the other, that's normal. But I just want to thank everyone for playing Armajet. It's an awesome game, and definitely get your friends to play it too. And yeah, we're just gonna see what happens in the tournament. And I just want to say good luck to all the teams today.
Well, thanks so much, May. And everybody, where can they find you on social media or follow you at to see updates on your career in esports with hammers and all your videos that you're posting out there?
Yeah, you can definitely check me out. YouTube, Twitch, Omelette, and also Twitter. Uh, YouTube is Hammers May, and then everything else is Hammers_May.
All right. Well, thanks so much, May, and thanks for coming on and joining us here.
Thank you so much, and have a great, wonderful rest of the tournament.